the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish.
This is my third time recording this video, and I'm starting to go slightly demented. So this is going to be quite short because I cannot bear to have recorded an hour almost on 3 videos about this same topic. I love Superman films. They are something that I grew up with, but it never felt to me as if there was a definitive film in that franchise or with that character. And with David Corenswet as Superman and with James Gunn directing, I don't believe we get that in this film. What I believe we get is a completely different arc of Superman. This is an ensemble cast, and this is a bare bones Superman story, bringing it back to basics, moving away from that dark era of Superman that the Snyderverse brought about, and bringing it back to what we know, but also attempting to use this film as a launch pad for so many other projects. Now, the story itself, the story centered around Superman, Lex Luthor, and Lois Lane. This is a really worthwhile story that, again, is relatively threadbare and relatively bare bones. It is relatively well known, and it is relatively stuff we have all seen before. Lex Luthor plays the evil billionaire who is envious and jealous of Superman and wants to use his wealth and his resources to bring Superman down a peg or several pegs and to take Lex Luthor's rightful, in air quotes, place as the true hero of human society. What is different to this from the Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman era of Lex Luthor, where Gene Hackman played Lex Luthor as an evil criminal mastermind who was also a narcissist? What is different from the Jesse Eisenberg version, where he was a zealot, almost religious zealot, about his vision for the world? What is different in this is that Lex Luthor is almost pathetic. You feel somewhat annoyed with him because of his pathetic nature, and you want to feel sorry for him, and yet he outright does evil things. I will say that there are also 1 or 2 scenes where I felt a bit annoyed by him just because he is used as exposition, and some of the exposition dumps are placed on his character so that we know more about his motivations or his plans. And that's not really something that we want to see, but also that isn't something that happens very often in this film. And for this reason, I'm willing to overlook it. Nicholas Hoult plays Lex to a T. He embodies that evil, that envy, that jealousy, but also he is used as the vehicle to prove that James Gunn in this universe, in this DC universe, is willing to push the boundaries and is willing to go darker if it suits the story and if it fits the film that he is making. This, in my opinion, is very good news for the Brave and the Bold movie and the Clayface movie. We've already heard that Clayface is going to be an R-rated horror movie. This gives us a lot of good signs for that they aren't going to pull punches where they see it necessary. That also means that when you have a Superman film that is meant to be that sort of cringy, awkward, sort of cornball hope story or hopeful story, they aren't going to shy away from that either. They're not going to make it grounded. They're not going to base it in reality. This is about ideals. This is about American ideals in the American way. And I personally find that very alluring. That brings me in. That is something that I want to see. Superhero films don't always necessarily, in my opinion, have to be about grounded reality or something far, far away as Marvel is. It can be about human ideals and focusing in on this is the best of humanity. This is what we want humanity to be. And that, in my opinion, is sort of the middle of the road between grounded and essentially extraterrestrial, out of this world reality that the Marvel movies have become, where we don't even recognize what these creatures are meant to be. They're humanoid, but they're far from humans. Superman in this film, he is humanoid. He's not human by DNA. He is human in his message and his ideals and his principles. And that's what I love about this film. David Corenswet as Superman is so great. And I say that as someone who is leading an ensemble and as someone who actually isn't given a large majority of the screen time in this film. Yes, of course, as Superman, he is given the most out of any character. But I'm not watching this film and going, oh, he's in every scene. He's not. There are other scene stealers. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult, as I've already explained, as Lex Luthor is great. There are so many in here that I look forward to getting their own projects, and Mr. Terrific is at the top of that list. What I will say about some of the potential projects that have been rumored, I will be a bit more skeptical about. Hawkgirl is one of the ones that is apparently rumored. I don't know if it's just that I'm feeling a bit burnt out still about The Last of Us Season 2, but I don't think Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl is given very much of a setup that I'm really looking at and going, this is great, I can't wait to see more of this. But in my opinion, James Gunn has more than earned our support with this film. And he needs to get as much backing as possible from fans, from people who like this movie, and go, okay, we're not going to doubt you. Let's see what you can give us. There is no guarantees whatsoever that he is going to be able to fully run this universe, but this is a very good start. And this film, out of all of the future projects, had the most riding on it. So I look forward to whatever it is that he's got slated to come up. That isn't to say that this film isn't without issues. I will say that I feel like the story of Superman's heritage is sort of just plopped in there as an obstacle to overcome, but it is never really concluded in a very refreshing way. It feels like something that is potentially being left to build on in a sequel, which Corenswet has already said he has signed on for. But I don't really want to see that kind of sequel bait, especially when it just feels like the movie has essentially cut in the middle of where it should do in order to leave the rest of that story for the next film. That's not satisfying in any way, in my opinion. As I already said, there is some exposition that just feels very heavy. And in my opinion, I actually feel like Superman isn't given a lot of time in comparison to the other Superman films, Christopher Reeves and Man of Steel. This is very firmly an ensemble movie, and this isn't a Superman movie that any other Superman movie has been a Superman movie. This is an ensemble cast, this is a setup for a universe, and therefore, I don't feel like we get to see the full breadth of Corenswet, and that is what I would want to see in a sequel. I also would like to see more of an in-depth story around Superman than what we see in here, because as I say, this is a relatively threadbare immigrant story about Superman, and if you don't think that Superman is an immigrant story, you're genuinely just a moron, and I have no time for you. You have no value to society, and genuinely I think you should be pile-drived into a cement mixer.